Hello and welcome. I'm Barkha Dutt and I'm keeping it simple about something we think is very complex but actually is quite fundamental and basic. How to be a secular Indian, a nationalist Indian and a social liberal all at once without any of those terms being mutually exclusive. Well, one man showed us this week that that is indeed possible. And I'm talking about the one politician who belongs to the Congress party but who actually is probably liked or at least grudgingly respected by every BJP voter and every Narendra Modi supporter I know. I'm talking about the Punjab Chief Minister, Captain Amarinder Singh, because many of his responses are not those of a politician, but of what first defined his identity, a Fauji, a captain of the Indian Army. We have seen Captain Amarinder very instructively reacting in an extremely firm way right after the Pulwama terror attack. In fact, I remember he told me at that point that if Pakistan has attacked and killed 41 of our soldiers, we should not rest till we kill 82 of theirs. He was unequivocal in his condemnation, he was ferociously angry and he was extremely non-ambivalent in his responses. In fact, he was critical of his own party colleague Navjot Singh Sidhu for being far too friendly with the Pakistan Army chief and for, in a sense, converting the Kartarpur corridor into a moment where Pakistan could get to assert some sort of fake leverage they thought over Indian public opinion. But Amarinder Singh was very, very categorical. In fact, he turned down the invite to even go to Pakistan for the Kartarpur corridor opening. So on the one hand, you have him really having a keen sense of the national mood, a keen sense of nationalist sentiment, keen sense of how most Indians feel, in terms of how he responds in the aftermath of a terror attack or in terms of how he responds to any sort of onslaught on the Indian military and the men and women in uniform. But on the other hand, this has never taken away from his basic inclusive attitude. Even after Pulwama, when innocent Kashmiri students were being targeted, he made it a point to say his administration was there to offer full support for them. He reached out and wanted to protect them. And on Eid, at a time when many Kashmiris could not make phone calls back home, could not talk to their relatives, could not talk to their parents, could not go home, because of the clampdown and the restrictions and the curfew in the valley in the aftermath of Article 370 going, Captain Amarinder Singh, as you can see in these pictures, hosted 150 Kashmiris for an Eid lunch. Now, it's a small gesture, but it's a gesture that says a lot. And if I had to summarize Amarinder Singh's politics in one line, it's that he's a true Fauji. He shows generosity of spirit when it's needed, and he's absolutely firm and unrelenting when that's needed as well. And that has been the finest tradition of the Indian military. In fact, at a time when secularism has become a corroded, contested political slogan and nationalism has been completely co-opted by you know, in a sense, an ideological and a political context, I always say that we have to look no further than the Indian military to actually learn our very, very easy lessons on both nationalism and secularism. Nationalism, of course, is self-evident. The Indian Fauj, the Indian military, stands for the country at great risk to its own life and takes those bullets so that our nation may remain intact. But secularism, the army is driven by the Sarv Dharm Sthal, the multi-religious place of worship. Every unit that I've been into, different faiths pray together. In fact, the Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry even has the concept of the MMG, the Mandir Masjid Gurdwara concept. During Eid, I have seen commanding officers who are not Muslim actually leading the namaz and keeping roza in solidarity or in empathy or in comradeship with their men. Similarly, I have seen a Granthi being able to step in for a Maulvi being able to step in for a Pandit, because, you know, while we use this word tolerance and we say we tolerate each other and tolerant India and intolerant India, for the military, this is actually a non-starter. There is just a kind of, not just tolerating each other's faith, but actually celebrating and participating in each other's faiths and each other's cultural practices and stepping in for each other's festivals. And what Amarinder Singh has really shown to the Congress is that if you respond as a Fauji, you can be socially liberal, deeply secular, deeply empathetic, but at the same time be a soldier's soldier. And I think that is what we have seen at a time when the Congress is really struggling to find its ideological moorings at a time when, in a sense, the nationalist space has been completely ceded by the left and the liberals of India to the right wing. And actually nationalism has intermingled then with strands of Hindutva to create a potent political mix for the BJP. If there is one politician that the Congress could learn something from, it is the Punjab Chief Minister Amarinder Singh. I say this not out of any Congress BJP partisanship here, but because I believe he responds as a military man. And I do think that what we've seen in terms of how the rest of the country has responded to Article 370 going is once again instructive that the battle for ideologies, the battle for a inclusive, socially liberal, equal for all, empathetic space has to, in a sense, coexist with a larger cognizance of national mood, of the value and the izzat that's placed on the uniform. And Amarinder Singh, in a sense, encapsulates all of that. So if I had to say it in one line, the Congress needs to learn its lessons on both nationalism and secularism, as do many of us liberals and people on the left, from the Indian military. And Amarinder Singh personifies that. So if you want a simple lesson on nationalism, liberalism and secularism, there you have it.